What's going on, guys? It's me, Zach, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. In this one, I'm going to go over my 5 best values at the quarterback this season ahead of the 2023 fantasy season. This will be the 5th video in this series. I've already done the best and worst values at both the running back and wide receiver positions. So if you haven't watched those videos, please do go check those out. I think they'll be really useful, and I've been having a lot of good discourse with you guys as well in terms of which players you agree, which players you disagree with. So it's a lot of fun there. I find these videos to be super fun. I just finished up doing my rankings and projections for the season, so it's been fun to sort of do a deep dive into those and see where they sort of line up with what we'd expect to see this season and sort of see what those values are. So I will be getting my rankings and projections up on the website here pretty soon. How about I just promise I do that this weekend as well, so you guys can go take a look at those for free as well and see if there's any other disagreements or any insights there. So yeah, if this is your first time on the channel, welcome. I hope you get some value out of here, and if you do, please do take a minute to like the video and subscribe. So yeah, with that, let's get into the first player. So my first quarterback value is surprisingly Jalen Hurts. I've got him statted out to be my quarterback 1 despite a quarterback 3 ADP. He's going about 6 picks later than the QB1 Patrick Mahomes in redraft, so not a huge crazy value there, but he stats out to me as the clear running quarterback 1. He's statted out for 1.5 points per game better than Josh Allen, my quarterback 3. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Devonta Smith is only going to be better. DeAndre Swift adds a pass catching element at the running back position that they just haven't really had. So it's reasonable to assume that this offense is only going to be better than it was this last season. Obviously, Devonta Smith was just a wide receiver. Year 2 wide receiver last year. A.J. Brown's plenty young. Dallas Goedert's plenty young. The offensive line's great. So there's no real reason to worry about this offense regressing. If anything, they might just need to lean on Jalen Hurts even more near the goal line now that they lost Miles Sanders. And on top of that, their defense actually lost a lot of pieces this offseason. So they might not be as dominant on that side of the ball as they were this last season. There were a lot of games, if you had Jalen Hurts, you'd see him put up 25 fantasy points for you in the first half, and the Eagles just wouldn't score the whole second half because they didn't have to. I think that might not be the case this season. You might find the Eagles in more shootouts than they were this last season, and if that happens, Jalen Hurts really has a just absolutely sky-high ceiling. So Jalen Hurts, despite the crazy high price tag, I think he's going to be someone that could be worth it for you guys and isn't somebody you should shy away from taking that high. My next quarterback value here, and somebody that I find myself really the most interested in taking, is Justin Herbert. I've got him ranked out as my quarterback 4 behind the obvious top 3 in Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and he's got an ADP of quarterback 7, so there's a lot of value for me there. And I think we all know, I don't think anyone's going to disagree that Justin Herbert's an elite talent at quarterback. And I think last season, people are overlooking the fact that he personally got hurt. He had a rib injury early on in the season that took him about 8 games to fully recover from. So we didn't see him run the ball at all. He was hesitant to throw the ball downfield. I believe he was 31st in the NFL in average depth of target. So that's something that should improve this season. In general as well, their pass catchers were just banged up like crazy. Keenan Allen missed a ton of time. Mike Williams missed a ton of Jalen Guyton didn't play at all last season. So there's going to be a lot just more in terms of weapons that they can use in this offense. They drafted Quentin Johnson in the first round this season, so there's a lot to be excited about in terms of the pass catchers in this offense. And on top of that, Kellen Moore came into this team as the new offensive coordinator. This should be a lot more aggressive throwing the ball downfield. He always runs a super fast-paced offense. The Cowboys were second in pace of play last season. So there's very reasonable reason to assume that this Chargers offense could have the most plays run in the NFL this season. They could legitimately lead the league in pass attempts. They were second last season, so I don't think it would be a shock to them to be first this year. And I think with all the talent there, it's not at all unreasonable to project Justin Herbert for at least 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. I have him projected for like 5,300 yards and 35 touchdowns, but I wouldn't be shocked at all to see him be a 5,500-yard passer with 50 touchdowns even if something crazy happened this year. So Justin Herbert has legitimate QB1 upside, and you're getting him with QB7 price tag, so I love taking Herbert as much as I can this year. Next up, I've got Kirk Cousins. He's not exactly a very sexy pick here, but I've got him ranked as my quarterback 6 despite a quarterback 11 ADP, and I think he's just the perfect quarterback to take if you take the approach of waiting on the quarterback position. The Vikings are another candidate to be a team that leads the league in pass attempts this season. They were 4th in the NFL last season. They've recently released Dalvin Cook, and they spent a first-round draft pick on Jordan Addison in the offseason. So there's certainly moves that have been made by this team that suggest they're going to lean on the passing game even more than they did last year. And on top of that, their defense still stuck, so they're going to have to get in a lot of shootouts if they want to win games. They're going to have to put up a lot of points, and you have to do that by passing the ball. And on top of that, I think that it's reasonable to say that this is a far better receiving core than what Kirk Cousins had last year. Justin Jefferson's still trending upwards. TJ Hawkinson's finally going to get an offseason to be settled in this offense, and Jordan Addison's a huge upgrade from what Adam Thielen was last year. So there's a ton of upside here in this offense. Obviously, Kirk Cousins doesn't offer you much of a rushing ability, but he's got a super safe floor. I'd be shocked to see him finish outside the top 10 of the position, and he's somebody that I'd just be more than comfortable with. I'd be more than comfortable leaving my draft with him as my only quarterback. So my next quarterback value here is, believe it or not, Russell Wilson. I've got him statted out as my quarterback 7, despite a quarterback 18 ADP. So that's my biggest difference or biggest gap in quarterback projections here. And I get it. I think that in general, nobody wants to trust Russell Wilson as their quarterback 1 in fantasy this year. And the good news is that at quarterback 18 with that ADP, you really don't need to. You can certainly take a Kirk Cousins on top of him and sort of play matchups. And I think it's really reasonable to assume that he can only get better from last year. This offense averaged only 16 points per game. Were banged up across the board. Their offensive line was awful. The receivers were hurt. Russ himself was playing through injury, and they had just an absolute bum of a head coach. Dulcich is going to be much better this year, being a second-year tight end. It's obviously tough for rookie tight ends to acclimate in the NFL. I like Marvin Mims quite a bit. I think he's going to help open up this offense. We're going to get Tim Patrick back for this team. Cortland Sutton should be a little bit healthier. Jerry Jeudy should be able to take that step forward. So there's just a lot of reasons to be excited about the pass catchers for this Denver offense. And on top of that, Russ has made a point of losing weight in the offseason. He's down, I think, like 15 pounds right now, and I think it's reasonable to assume that that means he's going to be really leaning on that rushing ability more than we saw him try to do last season. I think he tried to be too much of a pocket passer last year, and I think we're going to see him run the ball a bit more this year, which is going to open up that fantasy upside. On top of that, I'm actually projecting him below his career averages in all of his efficiency metrics, and he's still starting out as my quarterback 7. I've got him projected 4,800 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, along with roughly 300 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So I don't think there's anything exactly outrageous about that projection. This is going to be a team that I think passes the ball quite a bit with a not healthy Javonte Williams during the start of the season. Sean Payton's a really great offensive head coach, and I just have pretty high expectations for this Denver team. So if you can get Russell Wilson as your QB2 or just wait on the position and make him your QB1 super late, I think it's certainly a way you could take your draft and be more than okay during the course of the season. And last up, I've got Tua Tagovailoa as my last quarterback value here. I've got him statted out to be my quarterback 9 despite an ADP of quarterback 12, so not a huge disparity there, but I think that if we knew he was going to play 17 games, he would be drafted much higher than he's currently being. Obviously, with my projections, I'm projecting all of these players to play 17 games unless they're actively hurt, so I think that sort of just shows up in my projections. The Dolphins have the weapons on this offense to be arguably the best offense in the NFL with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. That's probably the best 1-2 punch at wide receiver in the whole league. And this is a team that's been super pass heavy. They saw that last season. They really don't like leading in the running game. They want to pass the ball as much as they can. Mike McDaniels is a really great offensive head coach. And I think that there's just legitimate top 3 quarterback upside for Tua. Obviously, he doesn't offer you a ton of rushing ability because they're going to protect him from injury this season. But, I mean, he'll scramble a little bit. He's mobile enough to give you a little bit of production there. And on top of that, I mean, these receiving weapons are so great. This offense is going to be really great, and there's just a real opportunity here for him to be an absolute league winner at his ADP. So that'll do it for this video. Up next, I'll be bringing you guys my worst quarterback values, where I'll go over the 5 quarterbacks that I find myself avoiding in drafts this season. I hope you got anything useful out of this video. If there were any players that you disagreed with or any players that you find as values that I didn't touch on, feel free to bring them up. I'll certainly give you my opinion on them and see what we have to say there. So super exciting. I love making these videos for you guys. We've got just under 3 months before the start of the NFL season, so it's really coming up. It's going to be super exciting watching this off-season unfold, and I'm happy to do it with you guys. So if this was your first time on the channel, thank you for taking the time to stop by. If you got anything out of the video, which if you're this far in, I hope you did, please do take a minute to like the video. You can subscribe to the channel. I think about 329 subscribers at the time of this recording, and I'm really hoping to shoot our way all the way up to 1,000 by the end of this NFL season. So let's see if we can get there. I really appreciate all the support, and yeah, with that, thanks, and I'll catch you next time.